You've seen them everywhere, filming their coffee order, posting every thought, treating strangers like NPCs in their story. It's called main character syndrome, and the internet can't decide if it's empowering self-love or thinly veiled narcissism. Today we're breaking down the psychology, where confidence becomes delusion, where self-care becomes selfishness, and how to tell if you or someone you know has crossed the line. Main character syndrome started as a film and TV trope, the protagonist who sees the world revolving around them. Then the internet adopted it. Now it's everywhere. TikToks with EPOV, I'm the main character, playing while someone walks through an airport in a carefully chosen outfit. Instagram stories documenting every mundane moment like it's a documentary. People romanticizing their lives as if cameras are always rolling. And here's what makes it complicated. Some people say it's empowering. Finally, we're allowed to prioritize ourselves, celebrate ourselves, live unapologetically, especially for people who've been told to shrink, to people please, to make themselves small. Claiming main character energy feels revolutionary. But others say it's narcissism rebranded. It's self-absorption disguised as self-love. It's treating other humans like background characters in a story that only matters when it's about you. So which is it? Where's the line between healthy confidence and pathological self-obsession? That's what we're here to figure out. Let's start by defining what main character syndrome actually looks like. The key characteristics: viewing your life through a cinematic lens. Everything you do feels like it's being watched, narrated, soundtracked. You're constantly documenting moments instead of just living them, because if it's not captured, did it even happen? Everyone else becomes your supporting cast. They exist to react to you, validate you, witness your life. You don't think of strangers as full humans with their own complex inner lives. They're extras, background, NPCs in your game. Every moment needs an audience. You can't just enjoy your coffee. You have to film it, caption it, get feedback on it. Your internal experience isn't enough. It only counts if other people see it and acknowledge it. You romanticize mundane experiences. Walking to the store becomes a movie scene in your head. Your morning routine needs aesthetic music. Your breakup is a character arc. Life isn't just happening, it's being performed. And here's the core belief: you're inherently special. Different, not like other people. The universe put you here for a reason, and that reason is to be witnessed, admired, celebrated. Now, none of this appeared out of nowhere. Social media didn't just enable main character syndrome, it created the conditions for it to thrive. Think about how platforms are designed. Instagram, TikTok, even Facebook. Everything is optimized for personal broadcasting. Your story. You're real. Share your life. The interface itself centers you as the protagonist. The algorithm rewards self-focus. The more you post about yourself, the more engagement you get. The more engagement you get, the more dopamine your brain releases. You're literally being conditioned to make everything about you, because that's what gets rewarded with likes, views, followers, and those metrics become your external validation system. You start measuring your worth in numbers. A post that flops feels like personal rejection. Going viral feels like proof you matter. Your self-esteem becomes dependent on strangers' reactions to curated moments of your life. Then there's the influencer effect, where watching ordinary people monetize their personalities, turn their lives into content, build entire careers around being watched. The message is clear: your life can be your product. Your personality is your brand. If you're not documenting and performing, you're wasting your potential. Pre-social media, privacy was normal. You lived your life, and only the people physically present experienced it with you. Post-social media, sharing is expected. Not posting feels like hiding. The documentary impulse has replaced actually being in the moment. And here's what's insidious. We call it authenticity. I'm just being real. This is my truth. But you're not being authentic. You're performing authenticity for an audience. There's a difference. So here's the question everyone asks. Isn't this just confidence? Isn't main character syndrome just people finally loving themselves, prioritizing themselves, refusing to shrink? The defense goes like this. We've been told our whole lives to be humble, to not brag, to make ourselves small, especially women, especially marginalized people. Claiming main character energy is reclaiming space. It's radical self-love. It's empowerment. And look, there's truth there. Confidence is important. Self-prioritization is necessary. For people who've been socialized to people please and self-abandon, learning to center their own needs is genuinely healthy growth. But here's where it gets murky. Confidence doesn't require an audience. Real self-love exists whether anyone's watching or not. Genuine self-prioritization means taking care of yourself, not performing self-care for validation. When does confidence become delusion? When you genuinely believe you're more important than other people, when you can't distinguish between healthy self-focus and pathological self-absorption, when other people only matter as they relate to your story. The question isn't whether you're allowed to feel special. The question is whether you can feel special while still seeing others as fully human. Can you be the main character of your own life without treating everyone else like extras? That's the test. Let's establish what healthy self-love actually looks like, because this is the baseline we're measuring everything against. Healthy self-love means your validation is primarily internal. You feel good about yourself because you know your values and you're living according to them. Other people's opinions matter, but they don't determine your worth. You can be happy without an audience. It means genuine self-acceptance, including your flaws. You consider your impact on others. Your needs matter, but so do other people's. You can advocate for yourself without steamrolling everyone around you. You understand that prioritizing yourself doesn't mean other people become irrelevant. You can laugh at yourself. You have perspective. You don't take yourself so seriously that any joke or criticism feels like an attack. You're secure enough to be human. Your relationships are reciprocal. You care about your friends' lives as much as your own. Conversations aren't just waiting for your turn to talk. You can celebrate others without making it about you. And here's the key. You have boundaries without performing them. You don't need to post about cutting off toxic people or announce every act of self-care. You just quietly do what's right for you. Now let's look at main character syndrome, the gray zone between healthy self-love and clinical narcissism. Main character syndrome has traits that overlap with narcissism: self-focus and self-absorption. Everything revolves around you, your feelings, your experiences, your story. Other people exist primarily to serve your narrative. Their audience, supporting cast, validators. You need attention and admiration constantly, not just from close friends, from strangers, from the internet, from anyone who will watch. The need feels insatiable because external validation never actually fills the internal void. There's a lack of genuine empathy. You might perform empathy, say the right things, make the right faces, but it's surface level. You can't truly step into someone else's experience if it doesn't relate back to you somehow. And there's entitlement. You believe you deserve special treatment, special consideration, special recognition, not because you've earned it, but because you're you, the main character. But here's where main character syndrome differs from actual narcissism. You usually have some self-awareness, even if it's performative. You might joke about being the main character while still doing it. There's a level of conscious choice. You can feel genuine guilt and shame. When you hurt someone, you can actually feel bad about it. Maybe not immediately, maybe not enough to change, but the capacity is there. Your relationships can be real, even if they're shallow. You're not systematically using and discarding people. You might genuinely care about friends, you're just also very focused on yourself. You're not pathologically vindictive. When someone criticizes you or doesn't give you attention, you might be hurt or annoyed, but you're not plotting their destruction. You don't need to annihilate anyone who threatens your ego. And crucially, you can change your behavior if confronted. If someone you care about sits you down and says, "You make everything about yourself," you might get defensive, but you can eventually hear it and adjust. The pattern isn't locked in stone. So what's the key difference between main character syndrome and narcissistic personality disorder? Main character syndrome is cultural adaptation plus insecurity. It's a learned behavior pattern reinforced by social media and societal trends. It's psychological, but it's not pathological. NPD is a personality disorder with brain structure differences. It's not just behavior, it's neurology. It's not something you picked up from Instagram. It's how your brain developed from early childhood, possibly with genetic components. Main character syndrome says, I'm special and I want others to see it. I need validation and I've learned to get it through performance and broadcasting my life. Narcissistic personality disorder says, I'm special and others exist to serve me. I'm entitled to whatever I want and anyone who doesn't comply is worthless. I genuinely cannot comprehend that other people's feelings matter as much as mine. One is insecurity masked as confidence, responsive to feedback, capable of change. The other is a rigid personality structure, resistant to insight, neurologically limited in empathy capacity. Let's talk about clinical narcissism so you understand what we're actually comparing main character syndrome to. Narcissistic personality disorder has specific diagnostic criteria in the DSM-5. You need at least 5 of these 9 traits, and they have to cause significant impairment in your life, be consistent across situations, have started by early adulthood, and not be better explained by another disorder. 1. Grandiose sense of self-importance, exaggerating achievements, expecting to be recognized as superior without accomplishments to justify it. 2. Preoccupied with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Living in a fantasy world where you're special and the rules don't apply. 3. Believes they are special and unique and can only be understood by or should associate with other special or high-status people or institutions. Everyone else is beneath them. 4. Requires excessive admiration. Not just enjoys it, needs it like oxygen. Without constant validation, they destabilize. 5. Sense of entitlement. Unreasonable expectations of especially favorable treatment or automatic compliance with their wishes. 6. Interpersonally exploitative. Takes advantage of others to achieve their own ends without guilt or remorse. 7. Lacks empathy. Unwilling to recognize or identify with the feelings and needs of others. Not can't, won't. 8. Often envious of others or believes others are envious of them. Can't stand anyone else having something they don't, and assumes everyone wants what they have. 9. Shows arrogant, haughty behaviors or attitudes, condescending, dismissive, believes they're better than others and acts like it. But it's not just behavioral. There are actual brain differences. Brain scans show narcissists have reduced gray matter in regions associated with empathy, the anterior insula and the anterior cingulate cortex. These are the parts that help you feel what others feel and care about their pain. They have hyperactive amygdalas, meaning their threat response is constantly activated. Any challenge to their ego registers as physical danger. That's why they rage over small things. Their brain is in survival mode. Their reward system is dysfunctional. Normal activities don't release dopamine the way they should. They need extreme external validation, admiration, control, domination to feel anything. It's neurological, not just psychological. These brain differences form early, probably a combination of genetics and childhood environment during critical developmental windows. By adulthood, they're structural. You can't therapy your way out of brain structure. This is why narcissistic personality disorder rarely changes. It's not about willpower or wanting to change. The brain itself is wired differently. Now here's where things get dangerous. Main character syndrome culture can enable actual narcissists and push people with MCS tendencies toward developing narcissistic traits. Think about how main character syndrome normalizes self-absorption. It makes it socially acceptable, even celebrated, to center yourself constantly, to treat others as background characters, to prioritize your needs without considering impact on others. It rewards attention-seeking behavior. The more you perform, the more engagement you get. The more engagement you get, the more your brain associates self-focus with positive outcomes. You're literally being conditioned. It punishes humility. Know your worth. Don't dim your light. If you're not constantly promoting yourself, you're told you have low self-esteem. Quiet confidence isn't valued. Loud performance is. This creates entitlement expectations. You deserve to be celebrated just for existing. You deserve attention, admiration, special treatment. Not because you've contributed anything, but because you're you. And here's the concerning part. Young people's brains are still developing. The prefrontal cortex, responsible for empathy, impulse control, considering consequences, doesn't fully develop until age 25. If you're spending your formative years being rewarded for narcissistic behavior patterns, that's shaping your neural development. Main character syndrome might start as performance, but if you perform something long enough, it becomes who you are. The mask becomes the face. Cultural enabling makes it worse. We've taken therapy language and weaponized it to justify selfish behavior. If you can't handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Translation: I'm allowed to treat you terribly, and you're not allowed to have boundaries about it. I'm just being authentic. Translation: I can be cruel or inconsiderate and call it honesty. This is self-care. Translation: I'm prioritizing what I want, and you're not allowed to question it, even if I'm hurting you. I'm setting boundaries. Translation: I'm doing whatever I want and framing your reasonable needs as boundary violations. Victim mentality has become identity. Everyone's always hurting me. Everyone's always misunderstanding me. I'm always the one who gets treated badly. There's no self-reflection, no consideration that maybe you're contributing to the pattern. And social media amplifies all of this. You can find a community that validates any behavior. You can surround yourself with people who tell you you're right, you're the victim, everyone else is the problem. You never have to face uncomfortable truths about yourself. So you've got main character syndrome, which already has narcissistic tendencies, being culturally encouraged, socially rewarded, and constantly validated. Some people with MCS will stay in the gray zone, but some will slide further. They'll develop more and more narcissistic traits. They might not meet clinical criteria for NPD, but they're moving in that direction, and they think they're just empowered, confident, living their truth. Let's talk about the societal effects of main character syndrome culture, because this is not just about individuals, it's changing how we all relate to each other. Authenticity has become performance. We're all curating instead of connecting. Even vulnerability is calculated. How much can I share to seem relatable without actually being vulnerable? Real intimacy is declining because we're too busy performing intimacy for an audience. Empathy is eroding when you spend all your time focused on your own narrative, documenting your own life, thinking about your own content. You're not practicing perspective taking. You're not considering other people's internal experiences. The empathy muscle atrophies from lack of use. We're experiencing reality distortion. The curated life becomes the expected life. Everyone's performing their best moments, so everyone else feels like they're failing in comparison. But the comparison is to fiction. No one's real life matches anyone's curated life, but we forget that. On a practical level, service workers are being treated as props. People filming in restaurants without asking, making content in stores, treating public spaces like personal film sets without considering how it affects people who work there or other customers. Civic engagement is declining. Not my problem becomes the default. Why care about societal issues when you're the main character and everyone else is just background? Political action, community involvement, collective good, these require you to see beyond yourself. For individuals with main character syndrome, there are personal consequences that might not be obvious while you're in it. Psychologically, you never develop real self-worth. Because your entire sense of value is external, you're always dependent on validation from others. The internal foundation never gets built. You're a house on sand. Looks good until the storm comes. You develop anxiety when you're not performing. If you're alone, If no one's watching, if you're not documenting, you feel uncomfortable in your own existence. You don't know how to just be. You experience depression when reality doesn't match the narrative, because you can't perform perfection 24/7. Real life is messy and boring and painful sometimes. The gap between your curated image and your actual experience creates cognitive dissonance that can become clinical depression. Relationally, you only form shallow connections. People can't get close to the real you because you don't show them the real you. You show them the performance. And eventually they realize they're a prop in your story, not an actual participant in mutual relationship. So they leave. You can't maintain long-term relationships because long-term requires reciprocity, vulnerability, showing up when it's not convenient or aesthetic. You can't sustain performance indefinitely. The mask always slips. And when it does, people see that underneath, there's just neediness and insecurity, not the confident main character they thought they knew. You end up lonely despite having followers, because followers aren't friends. Engagement isn't intimacy. You can have thousands of people watching your life and still feel completely alone because nobody actually knows you. Practically, main character syndrome can derail your life in concrete ways. Job and career issues arise because you can't handle feedback. Bosses and co-workers give you constructive criticism and you interpret it as an attack. You can't grow professionally because you can't accept that you have areas to improve. You might get fired or passed over for promotions because you're difficult to work with. Financial problems develop because you're living a lifestyle for content. You spend money you don't have on experiences and things that look good on camera. Your financial decisions are driven by what makes good content, not what makes good sense. Debt piles up while you're performing abundance. Legal issues can emerge from filming without consent, trespassing for content, creating public disturbances. You're so focused on getting the shot that you don't consider laws or other people's rights. Then you're shocked when there are consequences. Reputation damage happens when the mask slips publicly. Maybe you have a meltdown and someone films it. Maybe old posts resurface showing you're not who you claim to be. Maybe people who actually know you start talking about the gap between your online persona and your real behavior. Once the internet turns on you, there's no coming back. And here's what's particularly painful. You often don't see it coming because you're so embedded in the performance, you genuinely believe you are the character you're playing. So when reality crashes through, when consequences hit, when people leave, you're blindsided. How could this happen to the main character? So how do you find balance? How do you love yourself without becoming narcissistic? How do you use social media without letting it rewire your brain? Start with digital detox. Create regular phone-free time, hours, ideally days. Experience life without the compulsion to document it. Can you enjoy a sunset without filming it? Can you have a meal without photographing it? Practice being present without an audience. Prioritize experience over documentation. When you're tempted to pull out your phone, ask yourself, will stopping to capture this enhance the experience or interrupt it? Usually, it's the latter. The act of documenting pulls you out of the moment you're trying to preserve. Keep private joys private. Not everything needs to be shared. In fact, some things become more meaningful when they're just for you. Have experiences, relationships, achievements that exist only in your real life, not online. Post quality over quantity. If you do share, make it meaningful. Not performative, not for engagement, but because you genuinely want to share something that matters. And then let it go. Don't obsess over the response. Build self-worth, independent of metrics. Develop real skills, real hobbies, real knowledge that has nothing to do with online validation. Read books, learn instruments, build things, create art that you never post. Prove to yourself that you have value that exists completely separately from anyone else's recognition. Practice genuine listening. When someone talks to you, actually listen instead of waiting for your turn to talk. Ask follow-up questions. Care about their answers. Make the conversation about understanding them, not just about relating it back to your experience. Support others without documenting it. Help a friend without posting about it. Volunteer without making content about it. Do good things that no one except the directly affected people will ever know about. This proves to yourself that you can act without an audience. Apologize when you've been self-absorbed. If you catch yourself dominating a conversation, acknowledge it. I'm sorry, I've been talking about myself this whole time. Tell me about you. This level of self-awareness and course correction is how you change patterns. Seek therapy if needed. If you recognize these patterns in yourself and can't shift them on your own, professional help isn't weakness, it's wisdom. A good therapist can help you understand why you need external validation so desperately and how to build internal worth. Consume content that challenges you. Read perspectives different from yours. Engage with art and ideas that make you uncomfortable. Expose yourself to experiences that aren't about you at all. This expands your worldview beyond your personal narrative. Volunteer or engage in service that forces perspective. When you're helping people with real problems, homelessness, illness, poverty, your own need to be the main character feels small and silly. It's humbling in the best way. It reminds you that you're part of a larger human story, not the center of it. Now let's address when to worry that it's actually narcissism, not just main character syndrome. If someone cannot handle any criticism whatsoever, not gets defensive sometimes, but genuinely cannot process any feedback without raging or completely shutting down, that's a red flag beyond MCS. If they're systematically cruel when challenged, not just hurt or annoyed, but calculating in their punishment. They remember every slight and engineer consequences. They don't just react, they plot. That's moving into pathological territory. If they lack genuine remorse ever, they might say, "I'm sorry," performatively, but if you pay attention, they're never actually sorry. They're sorry you're upset, sorry you took it wrong, sorry they got caught, but never sorry for what they actually did. If they exploit others without guilt, using people is just strategy to them. They don't feel bad about it because they genuinely don't see others as mattering. This isn't occasional selfishness, it's consistent exploitation. If relationships always end badly and it's never their fault, everyone's always the villain in their story. Every ex is crazy, every friend betrayed them, every boss was jealous of them. They never consider their own role in the pattern. If there's escalating manipulation, they don't just want attention, they engineer situations to control people. They create chaos, then position themselves as the solution. They isolate you from support systems. They gaslight systematically. This is beyond performance if they cannot see others' perspectives ever, not just sometimes struggle with it, literally cannot access the idea that someone else's experience is as real and valid as theirs. If these red flags describe you, you need professional help. Not a content creator who talks about mental health, an actual licensed therapist who specializes in personality disorders. This isn't something you can fix with self-help content or life coaching. You need clinical intervention. Be honest in therapy. If you go into therapy with the goal of learning to perform empathy better or manipulate more effectively, you'll waste everyone's time. You have to actually want to change, and that change will be uncomfortable and long-term. Understand that this will require genuine self-examination. You'll have to look at painful truths about yourself. You'll have to accept that you've hurt people. You'll have to sit with shame and guilt that you've been avoiding your whole life. Commit for the long term. Personality patterns don't change in weeks or months. We're talking years of consistent work. If you're not willing to commit to that, you're not ready to change. If these red flags describe someone else in your life, understand that main character syndrome doesn't automatically mean they're a narcissist. Most people with MCS are just insecure and influenced by culture. They can change if they want to, but watch for escalation. If the behavior is getting worse, if manipulation is increasing, if cruelty is emerging, those are signs you're dealing with something beyond cultural conditioning. Protect yourself if it crosses into abuse. You don't owe anyone your mental health. If someone is exploiting, manipulating, or harming you, main character syndrome or narcissism doesn't matter. Get out and understand you can't fix them. If they have actual NPD, they won't change because you love them enough or explain things right. The change has to come from them, and statistically, it probably won't. Let's bring this all together. Main character syndrome is a cultural phenomenon, not automatically a pathology. It exists on a spectrum. It can slide toward narcissism, but it's usually fixable with awareness and effort. Healthy self-love is built on internal validation. It's genuine connection to yourself and others. It exists whether anyone's watching or not. It includes empathy, reciprocity, and seeing others as fully human. Clinical narcissism is a personality disorder with brain structure differences. It's not just learned behavior, it's neurology. It rarely changes because the capacity for change is neurologically limited. So where's the line? Main character syndrome says, I'm special and I want others to see it. I need validation and I've learned to get it through performance. It's insecurity masked as confidence. It's responsive to feedback. It's capable of change. Narcissism says, I'm special and others exist to serve me. I'm entitled to whatever I want, and anyone who doesn't comply is worthless. It's not masking insecurity, it's protecting a fragile ego with aggression. It's resistant to feedback. It's neurologically limited in its capacity for empathy. One is cultural adaptation. One is personality disorder. One can shift with self-awareness. One requires clinical intervention, and even then, rarely changes. You can be the main character of your own life without treating everyone else like extras. You can love yourself without needing constant proof from strangers. You can share your life without performing it. The question isn't whether you're allowed to feel special. Everyone should feel valued and important in their own life. The question is whether you can feel special while still seeing others as fully human, with their own complex inner worlds, their own valid needs, their own stories that matter just as much as yours. That's the difference between confidence and narcissism, between self-love and self-obsession, between living your life and performing it for an audience that doesn't actually know you. Choose authenticity over performance, and authenticity means being yourself when no one's watching. It means your private self matches your public self. It means you don't need to curate or filter or perform to feel worthy. Choose connection over content. Real relationships require vulnerability, reciprocity, showing up when it's not aesthetic. They require seeing the people in your life as whole humans, not as supporting characters or audience. Choose being a whole person over being a character. Characters are one-dimensional. Characters exist for a narrative purpose. But you're not a character. You're a complex, flawed, growing human being. And that's actually more interesting than any performance could ever be. Real self-love lives in those choices, in the quiet moments with no audience, in the reciprocal relationships, in the self-acceptance that doesn't need validation, in the ability to be wrong, to grow, to consider others, to exist beyond your own story. You don't have to delete social media or stop sharing your life, but examine your relationship with it. Are you using it, or is it using you? Are you sharing moments, or are you manufacturing them? Are you connecting, or are you performing connection? Because at the end of your life, what matters isn't how many people watched. It's whether you actually lived, whether you loved and were loved, whether you saw the humanity in others and let them see yours, whether you were real. That's where meaning lives, not in the performance, in the authentic, messy, unfiltered reality of being human among other humans. The main character syndrome might get you attention, but it won't get you that. And that, connection, meaning, genuine love, that's what we're all actually looking for.